This is the 150th anniversary of the land-grant college system, and I'm a perfect example of that. I grew up on a farm. County agent was there. He was trained in the University of Minnesota. I went to the VOAG. The teacher there taught it. I had been trained. I went to the University of Minnesota land-grant college system. I've been a part of it here at the University of Illinois for 55 years now, 57 actually. And so as a consequence, I'm a perfect product of it. I'll brag here because I graduated the upper 1.5% of my class at 1950. And at that time there were 5,000 undergraduates. So I did like to get C's, as a matter of fact. I got only 1 or 2, and I like to get B's and A's. And so as a consequence, my grade point was pretty good. So he said, okay, you get the assistantship. What do you want? Do you want to do embryo transfer or milk secretion? And I said, just like this. I said, well, okay, I'll take embryo transfer. I didn't know what I was getting into. At that time, you were turned loose in a sense. You weren't assigned a study that you had to do. Like nowadays, people pretty much say, okay, you got to do this project and that project. We were in a big lab and we were all together. And one of the things that was being developed at that time was frozen semen. So a fellow named Chris Polch from Cambridge came over, and we talked and we visited a little bit. Because I went back there a couple of years later and visited him for a year. And Ed Graham was working on frozen semen, and I was working on milk secretion and embryo transfer, ovulation control, that sort of thing. And everybody's in there together, more or less. And it was a very interesting time because you were allowed to do things. And when I say allowed, I developed an electroejaculator for bulls. Some bulls are either unable or unwilling to mount and serve an artificial vagina. Well, a single service from a bull may be worth thousands of dollars, but they couldn't get it out of them. So anyway, because my electronic training program in the Navy, I had equivalent of 1.5 years of electrical engineering. I devised a gadget that worked, and well, anyway, the word got around, and then so we started selling them. Well, I and Ed Graham, on Wednesday night, we would go to the union, which had a workshop in there, and we would make these things up. And we made more money doing that and selling them on the side than we did as our assistantship, which is only $100 a month. Oh, I did all kinds of things when I was doing graduate work, and one of them was embryo transfer. We could recover the embryos and transfer them, but we never quite had the right material. It turns out that cow serum is toxic to embryos, and so we were recovering it in cow serum, cattle serum, because that's what other people had done to do for sheep or for rabbits and that sort of stuff. We kind of mimic at that. But that didn't work. It turns out that there's a compound called TC-199. It's a tissue culture medium which now is used, and other specific compounds are used to flush them out. Because we were flushing them out and we were actually killing them by what we were doing because the serum has a toxic material in it. Anyway, so I ended up doing that as a graduate student, and we were doing all kinds of things at the same time because we were let alone. Some of my students said that they realized they were at the university when they took my exams because I graded them harshly. If 90 is an A, 89 is not almost an A, it's a B, period. And I was a very uncompromising guy. I helped teach genetics, Mendelian genetics like 331 and all that sort of stuff for about 10 years with a fellow named Alexander in agronomy. And it's numbers. And this gives you some idea why I became uncompromising. I grade a lot of the papers, and it's a numbers thing. And if you don't understand meiosis, which is gamete formation, eggs and sperm formation, which is reducing them down to half and then recombining them to the normal number of chromosomes. If you don't understand that, then you're likely to get linkage, which means that you have one gene linked to another on the same chromosome, or crossing over and that sort of thing. If you don't get that first part, you can't answer the question. So our questions and offer were directed towards sorting out those people that didn't get it. Well, because maybe 80% of the students didn't get it, so to speak, one guy got up and said, hey, since 80% got it this way, even though it was the wrong answer, that's the answer. And I said, You don't make the world flat just because somebody says it's still raised round. The guy threatened me after class. He threatened me. And that made my backbone this wide and all stainless steel. From that point, I became completely uncompromising. When I started out in this business, it was a great thing to artificially inseminate a cow. I mean, you really were on top of the whole work. Well, now you can do almost any manipulation. Jim Robo is a good example. He transferred genes into the animals, then they could produce milk that would produce blood components for humans, or almost anything. You get anything you want to. I mean, you can divide them into several. You can take one egg and divide it into 4, so you get clones. You get one on top of the other. The control of ovulation has changed, and I'll say that I started out making injections of progesterone solutions, and I'd take corn oil, and I bought the progesterone from Glidden Company. Glidden is a paint company, but they were the only ones that made steroids. So I would buy the ingredients, put them together, and then inject the cow. Well, now you get what they call PRIDs and CEDARs and all that sort of stuff that are silicone rubber devices that transfer the progesterone through the vaginal wall. And, well, humans also have the same sort of thing. You can get the same sort of thing. You can get things that you stick into the cervix and prevent ovulation, patches. And I developed that sort of thing. And that's one of the things that probably has made a greater impact than a lot of other things, because it's very widely used as a way to transmit steroids. If you want to have a contraceptive, you slap this thing on your arm, and it'll prevent ovulation as long as you keep it on. Well, my legacy is my kids and my students. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't want to start saying one way or another. I've gotten awards for several things, and one of them being the Embryo Transfer Society, the International Embryo Transfer Society. They gave me the Embryo Transfer Society Award of the Year a couple of years ago, 2001 or something. And that is an accomplishment. I just got back from the International Pork Producers Conference, and they awarded me a monster, big glass trophy with a very fancy writing and the whole bit about my contributions to the pork industry. Well, I was just doing what I liked to do, and I apparently was good enough at it so that it worked most of the time. So I'm a very, very good fan of the land-grant college system. It's made us what we are. Where do people come to go to learn how to grow things in their own farm? They don't go to their own place. They come to the University of Illinois and other land-grant colleges to learn how to do this kind of stuff. We should be proud of this. We need every person that knows how to grow food trained to the utmost all over the world. And I still go in and what I call harass the graduate students. I go in there and say, because I'm retired for many years now, I go in there and say, well, what did you do with great scientific achievement today?